Do you desire to become a better version of yourself? My Couch, Your Life was created to assist you in becoming the best version of you and to encourage you to live your best life. I'm your host, Dr. Patricia Busby-Robinson. You can call me Dr. P. I'm a licensed professional counselor who will bring a unique view regarding several topics that will be discussed on this show. A new episode will be available on Mondays at 5 a.m. bi-weekly. If you desire to learn more about the behavioral aspect of things and to have an occasional laugh or two, please subscribe and tune in. Now, even though I am a licensed professional counselor that's going to bring a unique view, I would fully disclose to you that this is not to take a place of a counselor. And if you do need counseling, please seek a licensed professional counselor in your area. Tune in. Let's grow together. Let's plant the seeds necessary for us to grow, but not just planting the seeds. We're going to water them with great knowledge and have fun while doing it. I hope to see you there. On this episode of My Couch, Your Life, we will be discussing Florida Department of Education's new agenda regarding Black history and what they desire to teach the students regarding Black Americans. Please stay tuned. Welcome to My Couch, Your Life with your host, Dr. P. Today we're going to be discussing Florida's public school system. The Department of Education in Florida is now teaching a new standard, which is saying that slaves develop skills and also that slavery benefited Black Americans. Okay, that Black Americans, Black people benefited from slavery because it taught them useful skills. This is all a part of their new African American history standards. Okay, I'm not saying all people in Florida is for this, but they have passed this, so it is implemented. But there are a few people that's having some pushback from it, that's pushing back against it, and I agree. The language is very controversial. They're saying that slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied to their personal benefit. For their personal benefit. This document is 216 pages, and the state's 2023 standards of social studies. So it's going to start being implemented in social studies classes. The other language that is in there that people is talking about is about how Black people were also perpetrators of violence during the racial massacres, which is that language includes acts of violence against and by African Americans, but it's not limited to the 1906 Atlanta race riot, the 1921 Tulsa massacre, and the 1923 Rosewood massacre. So they're saying that because I guess African Americans showed some sort of violence, that gives them a right to do all they did. My thing about it is you cannot change the narrative. The narrative is already there, right? You cannot change the narrative. History is history. If we can't go back and change the fact that Christopher Columbus did not discover America, how can they go back and change what happened to Black people during slavery, just so you can feel comfortable? I also read that it stated that they also feel that white students should not feel punished for things that their ancestors or people before them did, which is still baloney to me, right? Because I think that they should be aware of what happened, just like it's in our face every day. We go outside, it's in our face. We live Black every day. And even though some things, that other black people may do, I may not do, but I'm still being judged as a black person. So you cannot change the fact of what people did in the past or anything like that. So, but that's what they're saying. So to me, it's all about comfort, and they wanted to make it very cushiony, but you can't make this cushiony. I mean, if I can look up on Google, if I can Google things about slavery and it pulls up lynching, and if it pulls up black people hanging from trees, if it pulls up castration, all these things that happened to black people during slavery, it should be taught. Now, if you go on and change the dialogue and change books and change everything regarding that, and we can no longer find that, maybe we can have a discussion, but it's not going to change the fact of what happened. It also, for me, would be different if we didn't still live it today. We're very much living the fact that we're black today, which will never change the fact that we're black. Because right now, it seems as if we're being hunted like a sport. You can't go outside. Police brutality, being killed at the hands of another person that is not black. All of that is very prevalent today. So you can't change the narrative. I know it may be uncomfortable for people that may not feel this way as their ancestors did, or people in the past did, that may not be who they are today. And I understand that. I can even respect that. But it doesn't change the fact of what we live and what we experience as black people in America. Okay? You can't change that. We're still struggling right now in a country that we built, basically, for adequate housing, just for equal footing. So you can't change that. So I don't think that it will be beneficial to anybody to try to water this down or anything like that. You have to tell the truth. So for me, they're trying to really water it down, water history down, which you can't do that. Like I said, you're not going to go in there and change the fact that Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Okay, so you're not going to change that. So it's a lot of stuff that's written in history books that should be changed, but you're not going to change that because it paints you in a light that you deem is okay, a positive light. But sometimes you just have to state the obvious, and this is one of them. This is what happened on American soil, and that's just the truth. You cannot water it down. And you know what? I got one for you. If you can change the Declaration of Independence, then we'll start somewhere. But I don't think they're going to do that, because during the time that was even created, slavery existed, right? So that wasn't done with the benefit or for the black man's benefit. It was not. So you're not going to do that. And it was amended officially with the 13th Amendment in 1865. However, we still know that black people suffered way past 1865, okay? Because if we was just freed and was nothing else done, we wouldn't even have a discussion. But you still had riots, you still had blowing up of churches, you still had hanging, you still had lynching, we still had to fight for our right to vote, we still had to just still fight, and we're continuing to fight for a place here in America, in somewhere that we built. We basically built this world, built America, and yet to find a place in America. And that's just the truth of it. But that amendment was done and adopted as part of the United States Constitution in 1865. So if we're not going to change the Constitution, why are we trying to teach this watered down curriculum? to a set of children. And in that section I was reading, it said neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for a crime, whereas the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. In section 2 of that, it said Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Okay, that's what this 13th Amendment says. So when they put this in place, yes, it's supposed to have abolished slavery. But what did it increase? It increased penitentiary, mass incarceration, penal labor, okay? Because I'm from Mississippi. I'm from the Mississippi Delta. And we have Mississippi State Penitentiary here, which was known as Parchman Farms. Now, I know just based off of history, and you can look up this in any kind of documentary. They got a good one on Amazon regarding Mississippi, the Delta. And they basically, as it said, Parchman Farms is 18,000 acres. But they were literally giving labor to farmers of people that was incarcerated, allowing them to go work their farm land and literally staying over there. I have heard stories of people saying that this person belonged to this, person. So it still was a way to keep getting free labor. So, and you look at the mass incarceration, people's getting locked up for nothing. If they said you did something back then, that's where Jim Crow law come in at. So that was a way of getting free labor. So you can't erase what has happened. I know it may not be pretty and it may not be packaged like they may like. It may make a lot of people uncomfortable, as I stated before, but you cannot change the narrative. The only thing, not from the past, the only thing we can do now is look forward to our future and work toward changing the narrative of how we interact with each other today, which we are still in the same boat, basically, because black men and women are, like I said, being hunted down like sport. If they leave their homes, it's the nervousness that you get when a phone call late night comes in and your loved one is not home. You don't know whether or not they have become a victim of police violence or shot at the hand of a person of a different race, of a white person. You just don't know. So it's a lot of PTSD that has been developed from all of it. And that's the only thing that I can see that slavery and America has done for black people, is gave a lot of black Americans PTSD and a lot of undiagnosed PTSD. It's just the fact that we have learned to do what we're supposed to do, or do what we have to do to live and to survive. And we make it look easy in doing it, but that it doesn't change the fact that we suffer from it. If a police car come or swoon around you or turn around and come behind your vehicle, do your heart start racing? Do you start palm sweating? Are you nervous? Any of these things, if any of these things happen when you encounter someone in blue, you having an issue with some PTSD, okay? If you get a call late night and you're anxious because you couldn't reach your loved one, whether or not it's a husband or son or whatever, and it's a nervousness that comes about, or you hear sirens in your neighborhood and your heart starts beating fast, or anything like that, you're dealing with PTSD, okay? If you're thinking that someone is out to get you, or you can't even talk to law enforcement or go into a certain neighborhood without a nervousness coming about, anxiety or things like that, you're dealing with PTSD. Something is going on with you, and that's not normal. Okay, so that means that it is a problem. So I want you to think about that, and the people that's at the Florida Department of Education, that's saying that black people benefited from slavery. I don't know how you can say that, because if you have ever got in contact with a mean dog, I'm just gonna say a bad, vicious dog, and you know the dog was vicious, it could bite you. And if you ran or had the desire to run, if your heart started beating fast, or if you got a nervousness to come over you, if you make the wrong move, that's something that this dog may bite you. Imagine feeling that way 24 hours out of a day, because I'm sure that's how the slaves felt when they was working in the master's house or working in the fields. If they made one wrong move, they may get whipped, or they may, think about being in that state 24 hours out of a day. Then I will listen to you and say and listen to you and your narrative, or what you're trying to present about black people benefited from slavery, or slaves developed skills. I probably would lend my ear to you to listen to you about that. But nobody would tell you that that's a way to live. And I'm sure that's how they live. If they thought they developed skills, and if they thought that it benefited them, I'm sure they wouldn't try to run away. If it was beneficial for them, if they felt that they learned something, okay, if they felt it was good for them, which is what you're trying to present. And with this, I don't know what you could have said with 216 page document to state your case. I don't know. For a standard in social studies, I don't see 216 pages worth of foolishness that you could have written down to state how slavery benefited black people, when you snatched children from mothers' arms and sold them or killed them, when you snatched people's husbands and killed them, when you snatched people's sons and daughters and killed them, when you raped women. I don't see how that could have, nobody could have stated how that benefited black people. I don't see how that could have happened. But it happened, and we're here. It was somebody said it was a step back, and I agree with them. It is a step back, but we still back though. So there's not much stepping that we can do. If you can't practice your freedom of speech, and if you can't protect yourself when you're being harmed, no matter who the person is that's harming you, and you end up going to jail or prison or dead, then we still there. We haven't come. We're not that far removed. But when you've treated a black American as worse than any animal that you've owned, I don't see how it benefited black Americans. So I would love to get a glimpse at that 216-page document, beside the controversial language that, from what I researched and learned on what was written down here. And you want to say we had blacks had an act of violence perpetuated against them by other African Americans, and that it almost come off as if you tried to paint black Americans as a violent race. But how long do you think you push a dog in a corner before they bite? And so you get what you create. And if somebody is trying to prevent harm to themselves, and then you want to turn around and say there's violence, then I will ask that you reevaluate that. Because it appears that you just wanted them to lay down and allow you to kill them. That's what I gained from it. But also, if you're not black, I don't see how you could have even pushed this agenda that you did, because a white American cannot tell a black American what it is to be black. Or you can say what you think, but you truly can't say what it is to be black, or really put nothing on the pain and what was experienced and what is still being experienced to this day, because you don't experience it. You can't experience being black because you're not black. You can have empathy for us. I'm not saying you can't have that. You have sympathy, you can have empathy for us. But until I can change you and turn you into black, you won't truly experience what it is to be black. So I think we have to be mindful of that. But you can't change the narrative that has already been set. It's history, and the truth should be told. And even going forward, truth should be told regarding it. Now we can start changing ourselves and make sure that we're not operating from this same space. And that's an individual thing. You have to be willing to do that. And I'm not saying that it can't be done, because it can be done, but you also have to come into acceptance and acknowledgement that it happened, and where you stand with it then and where you stand with it now, and how you're going to be better and work every day and trying to do better and be better as an individual person. So I want you guys to think about that. Like, comment, share about what your thoughts is about it, and share with others to really, let's talk about this, because healing, and for us to really truly get some healing from that, start with us on how we treat each other. We're all of the human race, and we have to be able to coexist with one another in the best way that we can. But it does start with self first, and it starts with acknowledging what it is. We get nowhere. Nothing is gained by trying to rewrite this narrative and try to change our pain into something like we benefit. All you became craftsmen. You learn how to weld. You learn how to, yes, I learned how to weld with 50 whips and deep cuts in my back that I'm still forced to go out and work. So I mean, it's foolishness, is what it is. That's all I can call. I can call it number foolishness. I can't say it's ignorance, because ignorance is a state of being, and I don't think you're ignorant for what you're trying to do. I just think that you're trying to change this to paint a more likable picture. And I'm sorry, but the picture is bad, and it's gonna remain that way. And if we keep on in 2023, it still is gonna remain that way. I don't think the situation with that happened on a riverboat was black people standing up, and it was it became racial, but I don't see it as being racial. But what I can say is that, and I don't condone violence, but it was nice to see that some people put their phone down and intervene when a person, black, white, blue, green, but we are the ones that's been getting dead and nobody has come to our aid, not even our own kind. So, which is mean not even another black person. So it was nice to see other black people to come to that man's aid when he was just trying to do his job and they attacked him. Now, if they didn't intervene, there would have been another news station, a news report saying that black man killed by, we're kind of tired of seeing those. I know I am kind of tired of seeing that, and it's got to stop. So no, you don't let nobody get beat down or almost to death, and you don't come to their aid. Put your phones down, do something. And like the civil rights leader stated before that died back here, there's a such thing as good trouble. And what they did at the riverboat was some good trouble. If it was trouble to be gotten into, they did good trouble. And I'm just glad that it did not come off as it always have came off with another black man has been killed. Because it could have been avoided. Like you saw, there was avoided. Now, it was a lot of chair throwing and a lot of things like that, but everybody lived, right? But it should not have happened. So we can't get into a place of thinking it's okay to put your hands on someone or bring somebody else harm and not expect anything to happen to you. That's foolishness. To think that that's going to happen. But you can't change the narrative. And we got to stop thinking that we are, there's a superior race when there's not a superior race. If I cut you, you'll bleed. If you cut me, I'll bleed. We all, as long as we live, we're getting closer to death. So that's the reality. And nobody's life is above anybody else's life. So you have to be mindful of that. But you can't change the narrative. I'm sorry, Florida Department of Education. The narrative cannot be changed. If you guys got any comments or even want to add to this, please leave your comments, share with others, and make it a talkable and educative moment. Because I'm sure if Florida starts doing it, it's going to come to some other states. If Florida hit this new standard, other states tend to follow states with their new standards when it comes to what we're teaching our children in schools. And but you should teach your children the truth in school. Now, we didn't accept this lie for years that Christopher Columbus discovered America when Native American, the Indians was already here. So that lie done ran its course too. But you're still teaching it, and so let's be honest and let's be transparent about this. And it's still a sticky subject, and it's still a sensitive subject because it's still very prevalent today. If it wasn't still very prevalent today, we can talk about this just like we could do with the Nazis and and all this bad stuff that happened with the Jews and stuff. So I mean, we would be able to talk about that, but we can't because it's still very much prevalent now, and it's still very sensitive topic now. So let's do better as a people and as humans. Okay. Enjoy the rest of you guys' day. I hope it is blessed. And the most important relationship that you can have is the one that you have with yourself. So it matters how you love you. It matters how you treat you, because that's going to determine how you treat others. Take care. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, I'm asking you to subscribe today and to follow us on all social media platforms for show updates and upcoming guests. This is Dr. P from My Couch Your Life podcast. I want to take this time to thank you guys for listening, for tuning in, And I hope your morning starts off great. Okay, I would like you guys to subscribe to the podcast. I would like you guys to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. If you got feedback, if there are topics that you would like to hear, want to discuss, please let us know. Okay, this podcast was truly created for people just like you and me. And I want you to remember, the most important relationship you can have is the one you have with yourself. And the most important person that you will ever love is you. I look forward to hearing from you guys.